The New York Yankees are going to the American League Championship Series, and the Guardians force a Game 5. Welcome to the Just Baseball Show. You got Arm Layden, and I am Peter Apple, and we're here to recap Thursday's playoff games and then do a preview of Padres versus Dodgers Game 5. And it is all brought to you by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Remember, folks, download BetMGM, whether that be on iOS or Android, and use promo code Just Baseball. Why? First bet offer up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if it were to lose. Now you get them. And remember, gambling problem? Call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 or older. Terms and conditions apply. I stumbled through that ad read because all I could think about is the Yankees. We're moving on. We didn't even play that well, and we won in 4 World Series back on.
I mean, that is the standout point, right? Is like Aaron Judge finally has a solid ball game, and picks up his first extra base hit. We'll get into that in the postseason. And really, I mean, there's a lot of holes you can poke in the way that the Yankees played. I think in the playoffs, like of course teams are going to have some frustrations and some positive, and it's whoever kind of grinds it out. But I think you could definitely say that the Yankees could have played better overall, and they win it. Obviously, the Royals, really good story, amazing year, and I think you have to be so amped about the future and where they're headed and the turnaround from losing as many games as they did last year to make it to where they're at here and even take a game in the series. I think is awesome, but I mean, this was a series that the Yankees were expected to win, in at least in 4. So they do that, but at the same time, I'm with you. Like they could have done a lot of things better, and I think that gives you some optimism. You just hope that some of those same things that it didn't quite go right, like the Judge struggles, some of the other players who have not maybe been playing at the best of their abilities. You hope that that kind of wipes clean with the next series and getting a fresh start for 7 games.
Since we already started with this one, you want to give us the recap of the game, and then we
Yeah.
can continue to get takeaways, and then we'll do Tigers versus Guardians, and then
Yeah.
we will preview Game 5 between the Padres and the Dodgers. Arm, the floor is yours. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy myself in my Glaber jersey, in my Murderer's Row
In the
hat. I'm
Glaber
feeling myself right
jersey.
now. The Glaber jersey stays on during, I'm not going to make the joke. Go ahead.
During activities where usually it doesn't stay on.
During
Um,
fornication. That's what I'm talking about right now. Go ahead, Arm.
Yankees versus Royals. Garrett Cole versus Michael Waka. Fun matchup, especially with the success that Waka has had against the Yankees. But I mean, Garrett Cole's Garrett Cole, and we'll get to that. But the Yankees wasted no time getting on the board, and it was Gleyber Torres, had an incredible series overall, who led the game off with a double. Then Juan Soto drove him in with an RBI single. Just like that, it's 1-0 in the first. But from there, Garrett Cole and Michael Waka traded zeros until the 5th inning when Anthony Volpe got the rally started with a leadoff single, followed by an inevitable Alex Verdugo ground out. But then John Birdie and Gleyber Torres added back-to-back singles, driving in Verdugo to make it 2-0 and chase Michael Waka. The Royals went to their bullpen ace, Lucas Erceg, earlier than usual to go get Juan Soto, who flew out to end the 5th and finalize Waka's line, which was 4 2/3, 6 hits, 2 earned, 2 strikeouts. Aaron Judge led off the top of the 6th with a much needed double. That was his first extra base hit of the postseason so far. And then with 1 out, Giancarlo Stanton came up clutch yet again. A 117 mile per hour RBI single back up the box. Thank goodness that did not hit Lucas Erceg, by the way. Went like right by him to make it 3-0. His 4th RBI of the series. That's what it was for Stanton so far. I mean, he was so big for them. I know he can't run. He can't do the things that, a lot of fans want to see him do, but he's getting paid to mash, and he came up big on several occasions in this series. Then after a Jazz Chisholm walk, Erceg escaped the jam with a fortunate Anthony Volpe line out into a double play that was unassisted at first base. The Royals didn't go down without a fight, though. In the home half of the 6th, Bobby Witt Jr. started a 2-out rally with a single, and then Vinny Pasquantino put a really beautiful swing on a ball off the plate away for a backside double that scored Witt from first. That was their first run of the game to make it 3-1. But then Garrett Cole retired Salvador Perez to halt things there. That was it. I mean, that was the entirety of the scoring. It was zeros the rest of the way, where the Yankees bullpen really was able to take over. But one more inning from Garrett Cole, who ended up going 7 innings, 6 hits, 1 run, no walks, 4 Ks. That's Garrett Cole, man. And that's a guy who now with that start, his playoff numbers in his career continue to get better. I think we continue to sleep on that, but they needed him. He was fantastic. And when a guy like him goes 7, you can put Clay Holmes in the 8th inning, which We know he's more than fine in the eighth. He pitches a scoreless inning and nobody reaches base. And then Luke Weaver, you said it, Peter, on the show. You're not worried about the ninth anymore. And I wouldn't be either with the way Luke Weaver looks right now. He shuts the door, 9 pitches, 8 strikes, strikes out 2 guys. And that was that 1-2-3 inning. And the Yankees shut the door in Kansas City at Kauffman. Awesome crowd there, too, by the way. And again, a lot to be excited about for the Royals and their fans. But I think the better team in this series won, and the Yankees, behind Garrett Cole's domination, were able to shut the door in 4 games.
Garrett Cole, take a freaking bow, my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what an ace looks like. An ace who has a 3.05 ERA and over 109 innings in the playoffs going into that game. 7 innings, 6 hits, 1 earned run gets your team the win. Now, that start was one of my favorite Garrett Cole starts I've ever seen. The bravado on the mound. As soon as he stepped onto
Oh, he was
that mound was
invested.
his. And you know what I loved about him too? Fastballs. Establishing the fastball. Garrett Cole during the regular season, about 45% usage rate on the four seamer. It's his bread and butter. Of course, he has a bunch of different pitches and he's got pinpoint command. That's what makes him an ace. But the fastball, establishing it to a Royals team where Luke Weaver, the inning before to end game 3, threw almost every ball as a fastball, right? You could tell the Royals were not catching up to it. So what did he do? 55% usage, said, I dare you to hit it. They couldn't, and he stuck with it. And there's sometimes when you're watching Garrett Cole and he doesn't make a sound. What I mean by that is he's so level-headed on the mound. It's such a cool, calm, collected, right? Just that same just narrow vision right to the plate. And it gives me watching at home the most confidence I could ever have in the guy. Just him standing up there, firing fastballs, daring them to hit it. What a performance, Garrett Cole.
I mean, it's what you want. It's what you're paying him for. And it makes me more optimistic about the Yankees going into the next series. And we'll, have following episodes to preview that. But, when you have this Cole, I mean, that's a tone setter and a guy that's going to be able to go twice in those 7 game series and be absolutely huge for you. I do want to highlight Tommy Pham because Tommy Pham entered this game 13 for 36 off of Cole in his career. That's a 361 batting average. And he went 3 for 3 off of Cole again today. So now he's 16 for 39 against Cole. So that should bring the average up over a 400. And after the last hit, Cole just laughed. Like he made a pretty good pitch on a curveball. It was down, and Pham just hit it hard in between the left side between third and short for a base hit. And Cole just laughed. He's just like, okay, clearly this is just one of those guys that sees the ball well off me. There's not many of them. And I had to shout out Tommy Pham, who had a great postseason. I thought it was crazy that they didn't play him a little bit more. They kind of went with the platoons, didn't play last game, came in later. But I mean, Pham continues to be a guy that we just wonder why he ends up settling for a minor league deal with like the White Sox and then ends up being put into big spots in the postseason and ends up being productive and big in those spots. And he's going to end up signing like a minor league deal with the Marlins this coming season. They're going to flip him to a contender, and it's going to be the same story again. But Pham did his part yet again. And I will say, Vinny Pasquantino as well. To pick up that double, but just for him to be in the middle of that order and battling after he broke his hand, like what felt like 2 weeks ago. I mean, to be able to just get back and then not only that contribute. I mean, that's grit right there. We're talking about the gritty Tigers, like Vinny Pasquantino, and this Royals team is gritty in its own right too. But I just Vinny Pasquantino to get back there, do what he did, and actually be productive. Like you got to be really excited about this core if you're a Royals fan. And I think this is a great sign of things to come. And I'm sure that this group, we talked about it going into this year, right? Like just the fact that they gave this team a chance by signing the pitching that they signed. We said, oh, it'll just, give them some meaningful games in the second half. And that could be a big learning experience for these young players. Well, take that and multiply it times 10, right? They got very meaningful games here down the stretch of the season and into the postseason that I think are going to be huge for the Royals as they, try to build and get right back there next year and maybe finish it and take it to the CS, which I think they can with the right moves this offseason.
It's a good thing you're giving the Royals some credit here because I want to keep talking about the Yankees. How about Giancarlo Stanton? How about him? How about
I
playoff
love them.
Stanton going into this game in the playoffs in general, slashing 266, 331, 633 slug for 964 OPS in 30 games. What does he do in this game? 2 for 3 with the double. Just hits the ball hard every single time. Just when the moment is big, he steps up. And Bob Costas just continuing to talk about his speed. Giancarlo Stanton doesn't need speed. You see the speed of the ball off his bat? That's the only speed I care about with Giancarlo Stanton. God, he's a manimal. And that's why I kept saying the Yankees 1-4 and didn't even play well because in this series, right? We talked about it. Aaron Judge hit 154, but it was so good to see him get a ball go through. Right? That's the kind of hit
And
that
two
could then
walks. Two
exactly.
walks too.
That's the kind of hit that then propels you into the next series, right? And it wasn't just, he had a hit in, I think it was game 2 or game 3, whatever. It was his first hit of the postseason, and it was kind of like an infield hit, right? He hit it hard on the ground in the infield and got to first. That's not something that's going to propel you. A double in the gap, roped. That's the type of hit that we need. And in this series, right? Juan Soto, he hit 286 with a 746 OPS, right? Not great, not the Juan Soto we expect. Glaber was good, right? 867 OPS. But Austin Wells was objectively not great this series.
He's still slumping. I mean, this has been a slump since, the last
Yeah.
couple months of the season. It's been I was gonna ask you, like, is that a guy that should still be hitting in the 4 hole?
No, we're gonna move stand up in the lineup.
Yeah, it got to,
I
right?
mean, I
But
understand the righty lefty, like I get that, but you put Giancarlo Stanton in the 4 hole in the playoffs and you worry about matchups a little bit later.
dude, that home run stat, home runs per at bat that they've shown on the broadcast several times, like
Yeah,
this
can you go over it again? I forgot. Can
it's
you
it's
say
home
it?
runs per at bat, and the only guy ahead of him is Babe Ruth.
Wait, can you say
Uh
that again? What
Yeah,
did you say?
the only guy with more home runs per at bat, minimum 100 at bats, I think, in the postseason, if I remember that correctly, was Babe Ruth, and then
Pretty
it's
good, right?
Giancarlo Stanton. Yeah, it's pretty damn good. He
Yeah.
rises to the occasion. I mean, he's clutch in these spots. He was the is it? I mean, you could say Garrett Cole, I guess, but on the offensive side, I mean, he was the MVP of the position players, at least, right in this series. He had to be.
Duke Ellis.
He got in. Duke
He
Ellis
did get
did
in.
get in. That was electric.
No, objectively, Giancarlo Stanton was the only player on this team to hit 300 during the series or better, and they won. Right? If I told you, Aram, before this series begins, I guarantee you Juan Soto is going to put up a 746 OPS, Aaron Judge is going to put up a 620 OPS, and Austin Wells is going to put up a 347 OPS. Do the Yankees win the series?
I would lean towards no. I
And they
mean,
1-4. This team is winning the World Series.
hey, you got some big bad teams on the National League side, and hell, man, I
Who
don't even know.
cares?
I,
It
I
doesn't
don't even
matter.
know what's going on with these whites. We're going to talk about it with the American League side and this Tigers Guardians matchup, but also Jazz Chisholm, right? Like Jazz in the 3 games leading into tonight's game was 2 for 12 with the home run, but 2 for 12, and then didn't have a hit in this one. He was 0 for 3 with a walk. So another guy that didn't really have good numbers. I mean, you go through the rest of the lineup, nobody really performed, and I think you do have to give credit to these pitchers.
Definitely.
In Kansas City, I mean Lugo and Waka and even the bullpen actually holding up its end of the bargain. I mean it was impressive, but Yankees were able to grind it out, and I think the big part was, I mean, their bullpen didn't give a run the entire series.
As
Like
many as we did.
that's the thing. If you gave me that caveat though as well, then I'd say, oh, okay, this is a weird one, but Yankees probably have it. And that was the difference maker, I think, is the bullpen completely shutting the door, every single game and just coming up clutch there because that's where things could obviously get out of hand, especially when your offense isn't great and you're mostly holding on to smaller leads. Huge to have the bullpen putting up zeros too.
Yankees pitching just shut down the middle of this Royals lineup. In this series, Bobby Witt Jr. hit 192. Vinny hit 130. Salvi hit 208. Yuli Gurriel hit 190. MJ Melendez hit 150. I mean, that's art. That's
Yeah,
art right
you're
there.
not going to
Because
win that way.
especially those guys at home. I mean, the Royals, one of the best offenses in baseball at home. We're just rocking in baseball. 741 OPS as an offense at home. We shut them down completely. Shut them down. God, Yankees pitching was so good in the series. Garrett Cole was so great. Luke Weaver is such a weapon. I'm so fired up right now.
Weaver
And
looks crazy.
and the reason I'm getting more fired up is even watching it, I was like, the Yankees need to play better. The Yankees need to play better. And in the 5 minutes between the game ending and us pressing the record button, I'm thinking to myself, wait, I should be happy. The Yankees did not play well and won this series.
Yeah, if they play like this though in the next series, I it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, if they play this well in the next series, they might only win in 5. in the 7-game series, and then you go to the World Series, then they actually play well, they win in 4. That's
Oh
how the
god.
math works in my head. Isn't this a
Yeah,
fun podcast for
that's
you?
Yankee fan math right
Isn't this a
there.
fun podcast for you, are? Aren't
Oh,
you
I'm
having fun?
sure. I'm
Yeah.
sure people are loving it that don't like the Yankees. But no, I mean it's
Mhm.
valid, dude. They're doing what they need to do, and they're not even playing at the best of their ability. But I think, I mean, looking forward here, it's going to be interesting to see how they go about, the
Who's gonna stop
rotation and who
us?
they go to where and everything like that. I'm excited about it. But for the most part, like the bullpen was pretty preserved. Cole doing what he did, like they've got a lot of momentum and being able to avoid that fifth game, keep your guys fresh, especially like the Stantons of the world and things like that. I think is absolutely huge. So, I mean, that's going to bode really well. And then having the other series go 5 games, and that fifth game is going to be very stressful and I think draining. I mean, the Yankees are in a very favorable spot right here. But again, credit to the Royals for doing something that I don't think any of us really expected. And I mean, you got to feel good about where they're headed.
Let's talk, the next series, unless you have
Yeah.
anything nice to say about the Yankees to continue. I mean, I could keep going. Do you wanna?
I'm so happy for Giancarlo. And that's a big reason why
I
I
was
will
kidding,
root.
but yeah, go ahead.
I'm
Say more
happy for
things.
Giancarlo, man. Like people love to bash, and I don't think he gets it that bad compared to some other guys, but like it's nothing that John Carlo can control. Like he's doing everything that he can control. They're literally telling him not to run because, like, dude, that's been a problem since he was a Marlin. Like his body, unfortunately, is just not holding up. So he's able to stay on the field, and this is the benefit, right? When you complain that he didn't, not you, but like when people complain when he's not busting it down the line to try to beat out a double play, dude, there's like a coin flip chance if he's going full speed that he's pulling a hammy, and now he's not going to be available to come up big with these swings. That's why he's there. So, I mean, that was the thing that was validating, and I'm glad that he was able to come up big in several spots throughout this series. And I hope he keeps doing it because the guy deserves it. And it's been tumultuous, Yankees tenure. I think he's had some great moments, but it would really, I think, put it would really elevate the perception of John Carlos Stanton's Yankee tenure if he can really help them make a push here. So that is something I'm rooting for. I don't care who wins the World Series, but I root for individuals, and that's an individual that I would love to see, really elevate his perception in a Yankees uniform because I mean he deserves it.
If he keeps swinging like this, as soon as he gets up to the plate and makes contact, I'll have a trainer just go out there with a wheelchair and roll him around for all I care. I mean, just keep his bat in the lineup. Shout out Giancarlo Stanton. Shout out Garrett Cole. Shout out the Yankees bullpen. What a win. We're moving on. But before we talk about Guardians versus Tigers, quick break. All right, Guardians versus Tigers, game 4. We're going to start in the top of the first because that's when the scoring came, which is not something we normally say about this series. But what a game. I'm calling this game the David Fry game. Top first, Stephen Kwan led off with a hit. Anybody surprised? Nope. Kyle Manzardo then singled. Reese Olson then retires Jose Ramirez and Josh Naylor. And then Lane Thomas gets a base hit to right field to start the scoring. It is now 1-0 Guardians. Bottom of the second, Colt Keith walks. Spencer Torkelson single. Zach McKinstry walks. Then Trey Sweeney hits a sac fly to tie the game at 1. And Jake Rodgers unfortunately lined into a double play to end the inning. Now we go to the top of the 5th. And now Reese Olson had exited already after 4 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts.
Pretty good.
Gave his team a chance to win. Good outing by the young right-hander. But we go to the top of the 5th, where Jose Ramirez flips over to the right side against Tyler Holton, who he was originally 4 for 8 against with 3 doubles, smacks another home run to give the Guardians a 2-1 lead, and it cashes our Jose Ramirez over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs on BetMGM. He moves to 5 for 9 with 3 doubles and a home run against Tyler Holton. But the Tigers answer right back. Zach McKinstry follows that up with a home run of his own. He had just 25 career home runs across 4 seasons coming into tonight. Isn't playoff baseball awesome? Then Tanner Bybee exited after that. He only went 4 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. Aram, question. Should they have removed him after just 64 pitches?
This time around, I thought, no, I got it a little bit more last time. But think about, look at how much they had to, and ended up using their entire bullpen from there, right? You had Smith go 1 1/3, you had Gaddis go 1 2/3, and then you had Class A go 1 2/3. I mean, they won the ball game, so it's hard to question it. But now you have a game 5. Like I would have thought you could have got another inning out of Bybee, especially with the way he's thrown in this series and the way he was looking in that one. But I understood it a little bit more in the first time. This one I actually thought was a little bit more of a reach to pull him this early.
It's not like he was pitching poorly, right? He wasn't great. He wasn't classic Bybee, but he was still good
He was
enough to
good.
garner another inning, I thought.
I thought so too, and especially with how much they're starting to use some of these guys.
But you got to win the ball game, and that they did. But we go to the bottom of the sixth, where Kerry Carpenter started off with a single. Matt Vierling then struck out. Riley Green got a walk. Cole Keith then struck out, and then Wenzel Perez steps up to the plate, pinch hitting for Spencer Torkelson, and drives in the go-ahead run. But on that play, Kerry Carpenter came up limping. Armo's too obsessed with watching Yankees Royals. Do you have any sort of update on Kerry Carpenter's injury?
They haven't said anything yet, really. So I hope he's fine
Yeah.
because I mean he's too important. All that AJ Hinch said, this was the quote, is yeah, he's gonna get some tests on his left hamstring. That's what makes it even scarier. He came around third. I think we all saw him start to limp towards the dugout. He couldn't go any further. So we've got to get him looked at. And anytime a player like him has to leave the game, it's concerning. But I'm going to hold off any thoughts until the doctors give me an update and he gets imaging and all things that we need prior to Saturday. Hamstring, limping, that's scary, man.
It is scary. And at this point in the game, the Tigers had a 3-2 lead. We go to the top of the seventh. Stephen Kwan starts the inning with a single with two outs. Excuse me. There was two outs in the inning, and Stephen Kwan gets a single. And then David Fry pinch hits for Kyle Manzardo to face the lefty, and the Tigers answer with a right-hander in Bo Brisky. Didn't matter. David Fry hits a 2-run home run to left center to take a 4-3 lead. Just another reminder, guys. David Fry spent nearly 5 years within the minor leagues, never ranked as a top 30 system prospect,
Hmm.
and debuted at 27 years old. He finished second on the Guardians with an 804 OPS, was an all-star, played all over the field, and hit the biggest home run for the Guardians this season. Incredible. 4-3 lead. And I want to highlight the bottom of the eighth because what a half inning this was. Riley Green starts off with a single, then Andy Ibanez flies out, then Wenzel Perez singles, then Emmanuel Clase comes in, and Zach McKinstry grounds out. I'm thinking to myself, Trey Sweetie, do you got it in you? Nope. Emmanuel Clase strikes him out the end of the inning, stranding two runners. We go to the top of the ninth. Rocchio singles to start it with just one out. Kwan gets another single, sending Rocchio to third base. Then David Fry, a couple innings after he just had a home run, squares to squeeze. It's a squeeze
Grit.
bunt. Scores Rocchio, works. Perfect squeeze. I mean, David Fry.
Just grit, and I love it. And I love the platoon there. I mean, starting Manzardo, he picks up a hit, and then you have Fry deployed in the second half of the game, and he drives in 3 runs. Like it was perfection there.
They pulled the Tigers.
Yep.
So the Tigers have been doing all series long.
Yep.
Bottom of the ninth, Justin Henry Malloy doubles to start it against Class A. And I think we're all thinking to ourselves, is this where the Tigers get Class A again? Parker Meadows moves him to third with a ground out. Chase Young grounds out softly, scoring a run to second base, making it 5-4. And then Emmanuel Clase punches out Matt Vierling. Guardians win 5-4. And now we got game 5. Where do you want to start?
It's kind of crazy. I know Matt Vierling, he had a good game in this series. I just can't wrap my head around him batting third on in a playoff series.
0 for 5 with 3 Ks, but he has been great.
He
He
has
has
had
been
some
great.
really awesome moments. It's just like seeing that name in the 3 spots crazy to me. It stinks because that should have been a repeat of Carpenter Class A.
Yeah.
And maybe they pitch around him. I don't know. Do you want to put the winning run on base? I don't know. I would have loved to have found out. That's the part that sucks.
Yeah.
But it is what it is there. Class A otherwise, I mean, I thought he threw well. The Malloy double, I think, was because he was, attacking a little bit more,
Yeah.
and he looks more confident and looks sharper. And I think that's huge for the Guardians, obviously going into game 5. But I mean, overall, I thought this was one of the more well-rounded games we saw. We saw good pitching, but we also saw plenty of offense, which was more fun. I think in this series, it's been a very fun series, but just got a little bit more of everything in this one. But it didn't really give me any idea of where I think this thing's going to go in game five. Like it's still so chaotic and unpredictable. But I will say, like, this Guardians lineup, I think was a little bit more consistent from top to bottom. You have the three hits from Quan, you have the Manzardo and Fry combination, for three RBI and two hits. J Ram obviously homering, but then even like the guys like Lane Thomas doing what he's done as well too. I think he's continued to validate that acquisition there. Two more hits and an RBI in this one. I like what we're seeing from the Guardians lineup in terms of kind of everybody contributing top to bottom. And if Kerry Carpenter's out, I mean that's a big. I don't usually like to put. You talk about it like betting markets, right? Like one hitter being out of the lineup doesn't really move as much as you like to think about it. Doesn't really move the line, right? Like, but
Not really.
if
It
there
it
is a
really
player that would move
yeah.
the line, it might be a Kerry Carpenter, especially in the playoffs and especially with the way that they utilize him.
100%. If Kerry Carpenter is not in the lineup for the Tigers against a righty, right? Because he's obviously not facing lefties, but against a righty, I mean, that's huge. This guy had one of the highest OPSs in baseball. We already went over it, right?
Slugged 587 this year.
He was in front of Marcell Ozuna. I mean, imagine taking Marcell Ozuna out of the Braves lineup,
Yeah,
right? That's the level of impact that Kerry Carpenter has had for the Tigers. But a couple of hitters that I like to see get going. Riley Green, finally,
great.
right? Looked so much better the past couple of games. And then Jose Ramirez, right? Getting that home run. He's had a really, really tough series. I mean, Jose Ramirez, even with that home run, he still went 1 for 5 today. He's hitting 143 in the
Yeah,
series. He has to hit if the Guardians want to win because
yeah,
Stephen Kwan is setting the table perfectly. It's almost a guarantee at this point that he is going to start the inning with a single, but it has to be on Jose Ramirez. It has to be on Josh Naylor. I guess it has to be on David Fry to drive these guys in order to get these Guardians rallies started. And that's
yep,
exactly what happened in the first inning. They get a lead. Then they put that bullpen out there, and then the game is basically over. That has been the Guardians' plan all season long. And in the first couple of games of this series, outside of that 7-0 win, it was more of an outlier game when those guys are not able to drive in runs. The offense just stalls, and then it's over because they're not going to score. They don't have enough firepower to do that.
yeah,
So Jose Ramirez and Josh Naylor, they have to bring the bang. Now, Josh
yeah,
Naylor has been fine-ish this year, right? He's hitting for no power, but at least he's hitting 250. Lane Thomas has been big for this lineup.
yep.
He's hitting the
Huge.
ball hard, right? He's hitting 267, another 2 for 4 day for him.
Damn and center. Like he's been so important. It's been such a good acquisition. I know it was really ugly out of the gate, but the way he finished the year and the way he's been for them in the postseason, huge. I love that you mentioned Riley Green because especially if Carey's out, but
Yeah,
regardless, like Riley Green's got to really embrace that middle of the order cleanup hitter and come up big with a couple more hits in the next ball game. And what I love is you had one off a righty and then you had another one left on left against Tim Herron. A couple really impressive swings, and the one against Herron really told me, okay, he's seeing the ball better this time around. So I'm hoping he can build on that, and they need him to. And I think same story with Parker Meadows at the top. Like he's really got to set the tone there too. But I just want to also, I mean, great spots in terms of picking, with vote and the Guardians, and clearly like he's got a great feel for his ball club as well, and that's why they're there. But Hinch continuing to do it right, like pinch hitting Wencio Perez for Torque, and he picks up two hits
yeah.
off the bench with an RBI. Like it's just amazing how he's able to pick these spots, and even deploying Malloy, in that spot as well where he picks up the double. Like it just seems like every time they bring a guy off the bench or whatever. On this is both teams. This is both Vote and Hinch. It's a chess match, and both of these managers just have such a good feel for their ball club, and it's really cool to see in real time. The one concern I have, and maybe they just turn the page and they're fine, but the bullpen chaos has really worked in the Guardian, or excuse me, in the Tigers' favor. Every single pitcher that came in today, as we're recording this, or tonight, I should say, gave up a run except for Will Vest, who only went 2/3 of an inning, who I actually thought should have came in with a fresh inning to start it. But I mean, Reese Olson, of course, he was great in 4 innings. You only gave up one earned run, but you had one earned run from Holton. You had an earned run from Gunther. You had an earned run from Brisky. You had an earned run from Job, and then just the 2/3 of an inning from Will Vest. So nobody putting up a zero other than Will Vest for 2 outs. Like that's not the bullpen chaos that you want. So hopefully they can just turn the page and you can just chalk it up to the Guardians, just having some good ABs and being gritty. But that is something to note. Like it wasn't really bullpen chaos this time around.
Also, this has kind of, gone under the radar a little bit, but I've been a little disappointed in the Tigers' young guys at the plate. Cole Keith is hitting 071,
Yeah.
right? Spencer Torkelson is hitting 118. Trey Sweeney is hitting 100, right? Jace Young has barely played, so I'm not going to include him. But it's like the young guys for the Tigers, right? It can't just be Parker Meadows. And like Parker Meadows, is playing great defense in center. He still had a hit in this game and a double, and he's hitting 240 in the series. But he's the best young player right now on the Tigers. And I almost don't even include Riley Green, right? He almost seems like the veteran of the club, even though how old is Riley Green? Like
He's
24?
24, but
Yeah.
he has nearly he has 300 games under his belt. So
Exactly. So, like the young sparks, right? Like the Keiths and the Torques and those guys, I need them to hit because it can't just be waiting for the Riley Green hit or waiting for the Kerry Carpenter hit, but also waiting to see if Kerry Carpenter is even going to play.
yeah,
And especially if Carpenter does play, like those guys have to step up in this game. I wonder what the Guardians are going to do, right? We know Scooble's going game 5. Is it going to be Boyd on a short leash?
it's going to be the Guardians version of chaos, right? But what's interesting is knowing that you would have thought they tried to get a little bit, and I know you had to win the game, but you thought they'd maybe get a little bit more out of Tanner Bybee because Cade Smith threw 26 pitches, Hunter Gaddis threw 32. So it might be Boyd on a short leash, but I'm also interested to see how they utilize the bullpen and who's available to go multi inning if they need it and everything like that. It's gonna be a chess match on both sides.
I cannot wait. Anything else to wrap up before we preview Dodgers Padres?
I mean, I think if you're the Tigers, you still feel good considering you're gonna have Tarek Skubal going out there and what he did last time out. But I'm with you. Like this offense, like you got. I think for the Tigers, you got to hope for pretty much the identical outing from Skubal, especially if there's no Kerry Carpenter out there. But I do think the Guardians try to go a little lefty heavy, considering how we've talked about how that can really spell the Tigers lineup a little bit as well. But I think it's just going to be a wonderfully unpredictable game, and I think it's going to be almost annoying how many pitching changes we'll have. But I mean, winner take all. That's usually how it goes. So I'm excited. I'm glad we got a decisive game 5 here.
One more thing before we move on. And now this is a player who I've loved for a very long time. I hype up whenever I can because I know that he's got it in him, but he hasn't shown it in a while and he hasn't been showing it this series. And it's annoying me because I believe in him. And I think he has more in the tank, but he's not showing it. Andres Jimenez is hitting 071.
I know. I was thinking about that today. I'm just like watching
I'm
him give
watching
away
him.
at
It's
bats.
he looks like a pitcher hitting, like Austin Hedges. It's almost no shot. I
Yeah,
can't believe it. I
it's
can't
it's
believe he put up a 140 WRC plus 2 years ago.
it's really weird. And
Wild.
I'm like it really. I'm with you. Like it's non-competitive. It's they're just
No.
he's just giving away at bats. It's
Yep.
just it's really tough to see.
Not
And
even making almost an adjustment.
no, it's auto outs. And I know that the glove's great and they're gonna roll with it, but like even Rokio, I feel like has been putting together some better ABs,
Rocchio's
which
been
is
great.
wild.
Yeah. It shouldn't be, oh, let's get past Andres Jimenez. He's easy, and then Rocchio's the tough AB. That should not be a sentence I say ever.
No,
I mean,
no,
shout out Brian Rocchio, right? That's credit to him. That's not a detriment to him. It's Andres Jimenez has to be better. You signed the
yep,
extension here. You have to be better.
yep.
All right, let's preview Padres versus Dodgers. I mean, this is going to be. Do you I mean, we talked about this a little bit last time. Darvish's numbers against the Dodgers are
It's
out of
crazy.
this world.
It's crazy.
He has 280 because I think right, you Darvish's starts against the Dodgers 5 years ago against a different lineup. Right, we can talk about his ERA being so good, great, but I want to talk about his numbers against this current lineup. Arm 289 plate appearances against this Dodgers current lineup. Do you know what they're hitting against them? Like the batting average? Remember, this is all the Dodgers on their current team, right? With Otani and even Edman and all the current guys. What do you think they're hitting off him in 289 plate appearances?
I think it's below the Mendoza line.
It is 198,
Oh,
25% strikeout rate, and like the quality of contact is bad. What do you think their ex Woba is in those 289? Remember, Freeman, Mookie, Will Smith, Teoscar, Otani. And just to put things in perspective, a league average ex Woba is 315. Right? It's
I was
looking
gonna
at your
say
quality
like
of contact.
260.
277.
Huh.
I mean, that is disgustingly amazing for Darvish. And
Three
you know what?
starts this year, if you include the postseason start for Darvish. Three starts against the Dodgers this season. A 1.89 ERA, 19 innings. I mean,
I
he's
think I
allowed
know why.
4 earned runs. Why?
The Dodgers crush these fastball slider guys, right? The 3 pitch, the 4 pitch guys. When I feel like they know what's coming, they especially hit fastballs and sliders. What was you Darvish doing? Not a lot of fastballs, not a lot of sliders. He's just keeping them completely off balance, guessing with his 8 different pitches, right? You never have the same approach against Darvish, right? He's given Otani almost all the pitches in his repertoire, and it's different every single time. But against a guy like Dylan Cease, right? Fastball slider. Dylan Cease's fastball and his slider are better than any pitch that you Darvish has in his arsenal. And what happens? The Dodgers crush him every time. So what I'm looking at with you Darvish and why I think he's going to continue to have success in this spot is there is no game plan for Darvish.
No,
He's
I mean, there
going to give
really
you
isn't.
so many different pitches, and the Dodgers have had 300 ABs to change, and they have not. So I have no reason to believe that this time is going to be any different.
Yeah. No, it's funny because to your point, like first time out earlier this year, he threw mostly fastballs. And then second time out, he started mixing more sliders in the slow curve. And then the last outing that we saw, it was full fledged like kitchen sink.
Yep.
Even distribution of everything. Like you saw, honestly, kind of less fastballs, if anything,
Yeah.
than you're used to, and a lot of cutters, splitters, curves, and then the slider mixed in as well. How do you game plan for a guy that you have no idea what you're even going to see, and he can attack you with 6 different pitches? It's outrageous, really 7. It's crazy stuff. So I think it's going to be a fun battle in terms of they're going to try to figure out probably how he wants to go after them, and him knowing that Darvish like okay. How can I keep them on their toes yet again now? Fourth time they've seen me this year, second time in a handful of days. How can I give them a different look than what we've given them already? And when you got 7 pitches, it's easier to do that.
If I was a Dodger fan, I would hate you Darvish. Not only has he dominated them in the regular season, dominated them in the postseason, has dominated them in prior seasons, but when he was on the Dodgers back in 2017, he was great in the NLDS and he was great in the NLCS. But I think the only start that Dodger fans remember, 3 1/3 against the Houston Astros, 9 hits, 8 earned runs. That's contributing a lot to his 3.88 career postseason ERA, right? Without that start, he would have allowed 20 earned runs instead of 28 earned runs. This guy is the Dodgers Grim Reaper, and I think he's going to shove again.
I it's so hard to predict because they're going to see him again and everything like that. But I mean, 7 innings, a 1 run ball last time out. He was efficient as hell too, 82 pitches. So that's the thing too is it's not like he threw 110 last time out and it's like okay, going back out, right away again. Let's see how it goes. Like it was a normal workload. If anything, relatively light. So I think he's going to be fresh and ready to go too. And I mean, that's the fun part of this whole thing. I just that Dodgers lineup, I'm always nervous. Like it could finally click for them. And Darvish did struggle with the long ball at points, especially when he came back. But man, I mean, he looked so sharp last time out. It's hard to imagine he does anything else other than continue to succeed against the Dodgers. But on the other side too, like what does the Dodgers staff look like in this one? Like how is this pitching breakdown going to go?
Yoshinobu Yamamoto signed a 12-year, $325 million deal to be a part of the pitching plan for game 5.
I think that's health related though. Like this guy was hurt for the entire second half. So
You had confidence in him enough to start him game 1, and now he's not going to start. He's going to be a part of the pitching plan. Did he get hurt after that start?
no,
I think I think we're giving him a pass arm. I think the reason that he is a part of the pitching plan and not the starting pitcher is because the Padres freaking own him. I mean, they destroyed him in Korea. They faced him in game 1, bum rushed him, got him out of the game immediately. Now, it takes nothing away from Yamamoto. Yamamoto's had a great year, all things considered, right? I know he's been injured, but he put up an ERA below 3 this season.
Yeah.
It's just the Padres, right? They just own him.
Yeah,
Darvish is the same
that
way.
that's valid. I
Yeah.
do think that the Padres see the ball well off of him. I think that's abundantly clear because even if you want to chalk up that the start in Korea to like, okay, well, that was a pretty weird situation, way early in the season. They saw him again,
Yeah.
and I mean, he
Crushed
was
him.
fine. He was 5 innings of 3-run ball. He gave up 2 bombs. He struck out 6. So, I mean, to your point,
But
they
then in the
have
playoffs,
performed pretty well against him. So I mean, that could definitely be part of it. I think he hasn't really had an opportunity since he came back, but he came back on the 10th and it was 4 innings then. I don't think he's really had a chance to fully get his feet back under him. But that said, like, you should still be able to go out there and give him 3, 4 innings as a starter and be better than 5 earned.
I
When you're as talented as Yamamoto is, and velocity wasn't an issue. It was really command, and command continues to be the issue for him since he's come back. The splitter that's so important for him, he just has not been able to land for a strike since returning from injury. He's only landing that splitter for a strike at a 47% clip. And last time out, he threw 13 splitters, only 4 for strikes. If he doesn't have that splitter, it's not going to happen. So I just don't think they have confidence in him having a feel for that pitch right now. And they can't risk it. They can't risk it in Game 5.
yeah.
So that's the tough part.
I wonder if they just go Ryan Brazier as the opener again, and then they go to Yamamoto, right? Just not to face like the Tatises and the Luis Ariz and Profar, but then you got to go through Machado and Merrill next inning. I mean,
It's the thing. It's like you're still gonna have to go through some tough bats.
the guy
And
paid
last time through, I mean, it was Bogarts that got him twice. I think with a double and a single. Tatis hit a double off of him. Machado homered off of one of the few splitters he threw for a strike, and it was a bad pitch. And then Arias hit a splitter for a base hit. So like that's the other scary part is like 2 of the 4 splitters that he landed for a strike were crushed, or like one was a homer and the other was hit hard the other way. So I think they're just seeing what he looks like right now and just saying he just doesn't have any momentum. He's not the same guy that he was before the IL stint, and you can't put too much responsibility on a guy like that in a winner take all.
yeah. If I'm the Dodgers, I'll probably open with Brazier. I mean, Yamamoto's. I'm giving him like 2 or 3 innings because we
Yeah,
can still go to Trinan, we can still go to Hudson, we can still go to Evan Phillips, right? We can go to Kopech again. We can go to Anthony Bonda. Vesia did throw 30 pitches in Wednesday's game, but he should be able to go. I mean, this is the playoffs. Like these guys, they're full of adrenaline, and especially in an elimination game against your rival in that stadium, these guys are going to be fine. I I wouldn't be surprised to not see Yamamoto at all.
yeah. I mean, or like a very short leash. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me either.
Because think about it. They just won in Petco in front of that crowd, shut out the Padres offense. Why would you give the Padres another opportunity to hit someone that they've been hitting all season versus the bullpen game that was the one time the Padres did nothing on offense? If I'm
Yeah,
the Dodgers, I'm doing the same exact thing again.
I'm with you. It's really hard, dude. The bullpen games are really hard for hitters. Like,
And because all
re-
these relievers are fantastic.
and you got to crash course them in 5 seconds when you're
Yeah.
coming out from the field and you're due up second or whatever it is. Like, and you don't know necessarily who's coming in. You don't have a lot of time to really prepare for that. So, I mean, it's really hard when you're going. The last time out they went Kopech in the third, and I mean he was nasty there, and then Vesia in the fourth and fifth, and like they could go any which way and mix and match, and like Landon Knack, he only threw 20 pitches. Like they could go to him. And I think the way that they can go back and forth with some guys that are like 99 and then Knack with who's it's still 95, but like is more of the ground ball finesse. It's like they can mix and match. And I'm interested. Like this is where, I think people unfairly pin stuff on Dave Roberts and things like that. This is on him, right? How do you manage your bullpen here in this winner take all game? Because we're seeing other managers in this postseason have some masterful feel for their bullpen. He's got to have that feel here, and he's got to put his guys in the right spots. And it's going to be really interesting to see how he manages it because I mean, this is a pretty definitive spot and a big spot for not only this Dodgers team and this core, but I think for Dave Roberts as well.
So who you got?
I got to stick with the Padres. That was my pick all along, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to change it. I will say though, this is the least confident I felt in the Padres even since the start of the series. Like I think it's scary. Darvish has been so good against them, but they are seeing him again, and uh, the bullpen side of it almost makes it a little bit scarier. And Freddie being right back in the lineup, they were just giving him an extra day not to do the back to back. They were saying it was gamesmanship, so he's going to be there. He's still been putting good swings on balls. In this offense, man, like they've looked a lot better in the last couple games, especially the last one. I mean, they looked really, really, really sharp. So I'm nervous with the pick, but I still got to stick with the Padres.
I think the Padres roll. I'm not nervous at all.
Wow.
Tell you why. Dodgers have seen Michael King well all year. They've seen Dylan Cease well all year. I'm not surprised that they hit them. Who have they not seen? You, Darvish. I have no reason to believe that they are going to hit Darvish. No reason. You're seeing him again, but he's going to have a different plan. And that's the thing that just keeps this Dodgers lineup off balance. It's the swinging out in front or just getting frozen by a 94-mile-an-hour fastball because you haven't seen it in 2 at-bats because he's given you 7 other pitches. That's what he does. And then the Padres, after this bullpen game, right, we're talking about some of these Dodgers' arm definitely have some wear on their arm. They're going to be fine. But the Padres bullpen is also going to be fine. And all of their guys, right? Robert Suarez did not throw in that game. Jason Adam did not throw in that game.
Tanner
Tanner
Scott didn't throw.
Scott did
Yeah.
not throw in that game. So if you Darvish gives them 6 innings of even 2-run ball, that should be enough because I don't see the Dodgers then hitting those 3. Nobody's been hitting those 3,
That was the
right?
blessing in getting blown out was
Yeah.
that they were able to preserve their monsters. And yeah, I mean that's the thing. Darvish doesn't even have to be perfect. If he gives you 6, he can pass the baton
He
over
could even
to
give you
those
a
guys.
quality start. It could even be 6 innings, 3 runs. I think he's going to dominate again. I think 6 innings, 1 run. I think he shoves
Then yeah,
again.
then they're in the driver's seat. But yeah, it is a great point with Scott and Suarez being fresh here, where they didn't even throw and they have the day off. Like that's going to be huge, and they're going to go, I think, more than 3 outs, and as they should.
And the Padres aren't scared of playing in Los Angeles,
Oh
just like the
God,
Dodgers
no,
aren't scared of playing in Petco. I
no,
don't even care what park they're in
no,
anymore.
I don't either.
I don't think the players do either. They're just so bad at each other. They could be playing on the moon. Like they don't give
Nah,
a fuck.
nah,
They
I
don't
don't think
care.
they care. As long as you don't throw shit at them, I think they're
Yeah.
fine. They don't.
Yeah, they're fine. So, and I think there's going to be an element of the Padres going back into that stadium. I hope they don't get a little bit too hyped, if
Almost
that
too
makes
fired
sense.
up. Yeah,
Right? Too
but
fired up where
but I
it's
think Machado
everyone's
did a
trying to
good
be a hero.
Machado did a good job of that. Almost, I think, of like calming them down and
Yes.
like channeling that. And you guys talked about that, but I think it'll be the same conversation going into this one. And this is going to be in terms of the intrigue and excitement. You don't know how the game's going to shake out technically, but I think this has the potential. The stage is set for this to be one of the best postseason games in a very long time.
Yes. I think now, if Yamamoto was starting, right, across the ticker was Yamamoto versus Darvish, and that was being, marketed to everybody. I said, I think with Jack yesterday, the days are getting blended together because we're always recording the dead of night, but I said it was going to be the most watched game of the postseason. Think about how many TVs are in Japan.
No,
Every
it'll.
single one of those would be on and watching this game, and everybody in America and everybody around the world would be watching this game.
Oh yeah, that ratings are up like crazy, by the way, in this postseason. And
I was
Otani's a
told
big part of
baseball is
that.
dead.
Japanese market's a big part of that. FS1 was, I think they reported like up 41% through the division series first couple games. I mean, all-time highs for I think Fox Sports 1 since 2014. Like all stuff you love. And I mean that game's gonna this decisive game 5 is gonna be better than all of that. So yeah, it's good. I think not only this postseason, it's probably going to be the most watched division series game, maybe that these stations have carried ever, which is absolutely insane. Or at least since we'll see how it compares to like some of the other major networks that have carried, and of course the '90s is different, but since 2014, we're talking FS1. Like I don't think anything's going to compete with this one. It's already not.
Arm, we were told baseball is dying.
Yeah, yeah, it's in trouble, right?
Yeah, it's in trouble.
Every series is up, and we're at an all-time high on these on in this matchup here. So baseball seems like it's in a great spot once they figure out the regional network bullshit. But that's not MLB's fault as much as it is, I think, Diamond Sports Group, and well, they'll figure that part out. But in terms of interest and ratings, I mean, you'll love to hear it.
Do you have a feel on Tigers Guardians before we say goodbye? Scooble? I mean, how can anybody in the world ever bet against that man, right?
I that's a thing. I'm just gonna take like I chalk. Call
Yeah,
me chalk. Like I'm gonna
Scooble.
take the guy that is legitimately the best pitcher on the planet right now, and it's not. I don't even think it's particularly close. Like Garrett Cole was phenomenal, purely special, and what Tarek Skubal did was just a different level of domination. Like what he's doing right now is just it looks like it's the like classic little league grown man pitching against kids. Like it looks like he's on a different level physically than everybody else.
No,
Maybe he doesn't
yeah,
match that. I don't know. If you look at lineups wise, like obviously I'd lean towards the Guardians right now, especially if there's no carry, which is exactly why Tarek's going to shove somehow and be able to keep them in it. And you know, it might only take 2 runs to win it. So I I I, I lean Tigers just off of that, but honestly, like everything else kind of pushes me towards the Guardian. Like everything other than they have Tarek Skubal pushes me towards the Guardian. So I continue to just say I have no fucking clue with this series, and that's why I love it.
it's the best. And that's why I tweeted out and people misconstrued. It's like, oh, Peter, the Guardians needed to win this game in order to get to a game five. No shit. That's not what I meant. I meant I need to see a game five of this series because I said it with Jack again. The Tigers are the hardest team to evaluate in the history of this podcast in the playoffs.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Second hardest might be the Guardians this year. I
I'm
mean,
with you.
it's just it's matchups. It's manager on manager that we don't get these type of series. So to see this completely unique series with two fan bases who are just getting riled up and even talking shit on Twitter, I freaking love it. Guardians fans, Tigers fans going at each other. I love it. I
It's awesome.
absolutely love it. But I mean, it's hard for me to stare down the barrel of Tarek Skubal and say, yeah, the Guardians are going to win. I just don't see it now with like you brought up the comparison with Cole. The reason I was so fired up was like Garrett Cole looks like Scooble. That's why I got so fired up, right? That's the level that Scooble is on right now. And again, right, the Guardians have seen him plenty. Are you nervous about that?
No, no,
Not even
no, no,
slightly. I
no.
think I
I don't think
I
they
think the
have seen him
I
technically,
think the only way the Guardians win is if whatever combination they have on the mound matches Scooble. Has to
which is not
also have a
impossible.
shutout.
Which is not impossible.
Not
With that,
impossible against
no.
this Tigers offense, especially if there's no Kerry Carpenter in it. That is very much in the cards and then can be decided by a late home run because, of course, the Guardians are at home. They were one of the best teams at home all season long. The offense ticks up, right? So,
I mean, that's why I think. I mean, gun to my head, I think I would go Guardians just because
really,
of that.
yeah,
But I want to just take the best pitcher on the planet. You know, like it's just bizarre. I don't know. I don't know.
could be one of those games where on BetMGM you take Scooble props and Guardians money line.
Just like confuse yourself.
Yeah,
Um,
just and then
it's
watch
crazy
Scooble gets bombed and the Tigers win because that's baseball. And
because that is literally why this
that
sport's
would put a
insane.
cherry on top of this series. If Scooble gives up 5 and
And
then
they still
Class A
win.
blows it again.
Yeah, and it's Justin Henry Malloy and Wensiel Perez just putting them in the dirt. Like,
Andy Ibanez, see ya.
I love it. And that's why I can't wait for this game 5. And I mean, the playoffs are delivering, I think, in every which way. And I think it's only going to get better.
It's only going to get better, and we're going to cover it all here on the Just Baseball Show. Hopefully, everybody has a great weekend watching all of these game fives. Of course, we're going to recap it all on the Monday show. That's Arm Layden. I'm Peter Apple. The best way to support this show is to get yourself some Just Baseball merch. Normally, I'd always be wearing my Just Baseball merch, but I am not because Glaber Torres jersey is on, Murderers Row hat is on. So if you're not wearing Yankees apparel, might as well get the second best thing, which is just baseball apparel, which you can find in the episode description. Right there's a link there, code JB15 for 15% off merch. If you don't want to spend a dime, we completely understand. Please rate, review 5 stars on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. It is the best way to support this show. We've been recording at midnight every night to get these episodes out. I just hope 5 star reviews. It's the best way to support this show. Game time, just baseball. BetMGM, Cogis Baseball as well. For Arm Late, I'm Peter Apple. I said our names again. It's late. Have a great weekend, everybody. And with that, thank you, everybody.